Alrighty, and we're back for episode 13. Time has been flying. It's been a good time so far, but I think the best is ahead. Our bread and butter, football, is not too far away. I think it's about 80 days away from kickoff, which is kind of hard to believe that it's kind of that close. Now that COVID restrictions have come off, uh, football recruiting is heating up for Oklahoma, and some recruits have already been on campus, and a lot are planning to come the weekend of the 18th, this Saturday the 18th. So a lot to cover. We're going to cover some past recruits like Derrick Moore, Derrick Brown, Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy, and Gentry Williams, and what they thought and how they're feeling about Oklahoma, and previewing what is going to happen at ChampU Barbecue as far as alumni and the hordes of talent that OU is bringing on campus. Arguably the most talent on any college campus at any point this off season or recruiting season. That will happen. And I can't name another recruiting event that is going to be as big as this one for any school across the country. So without further ado, we'll jump right into it. There's going to be a reoccurring theme. These four guys, defensive guys, 3D linemen, one defensive back. The first one we'll talk about is Derrick Moore. He's a big guy, 6'4", 260 pounds. He's planning to be at the ChampU Barbecue. So, another guy that's, big OU guy. He's already visited, and he's going to come back for the barbecue. He's from Baltimore, Maryland. 247 has him as the number 72 overall recruit and number 12 defensive lineman in the country. In the last month or so, he's been mainly talking with OU, Ohio State, and Penn State. But since then, the communication with Ohio State and Penn State have fallen off dramatically. OU has been on his calendar for visits for a long time, and it's really the only one on his calendar. He doesn't have anything else scheduled. Granted, that could change. He's class of 22, so he won't sign for quite a long time. But just a little bit about him. I mean, he's got a long frame that he can grow into, very agile. And once he fills out and gets in a program like Oklahoma, I think he'll be, a contributor year one. Maybe he'll redshirt and then definitely contributor in year two. So that's basically his background. Jose and Brandon are obviously paired up together. They are a duo today. So I don't care whichever one. What do you guys think about him?
I guess I can go first. I think it's going to be big for Oklahoma, right? We are clearly Grinch is doing a great job at bringing in defensive talent, and Derrick Moore is going to be a big cornerstone in the defense for the future for his program. Obviously, this kid's is focused on being a Sooner. It seems like so now we just got to lock it in this weekend. Make sure that he is sold. We've got Gerald McCoy coming in to this weekend's ChampU Barbecue.
Tommy Harris.
So we've got defensive talent from the past coming in to sell him on being a Sooner in the future. So hopefully he can just kind of talk to those guys. Obviously talk to guys like Baker that are also coming in. Just talk about their experience as a Sooner and being in Norman on campus. And him being out of state, he's going to be very far away. So, maybe getting to talk to guys like Baker, even though he's not far away. Baker was from Texas, but still being far from home, it might help getting, soothing his mind and soothing his parents' mind, because I'm sure his parents are going to be super worried about, my little boy is going to be in a completely different state, and now I can't see him every day. So hopefully this weekend is just going to be a point where they're just kind of completely buying in rather than having to be sold on being a Sooner.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just a big deal that the communication with Penn State and Ohio State have just fallen off, and he's just honing in. Like you said, I think this is almost a formality. Like his parents just want the final write-off just to make sure that there's nothing that they're missing. They're going to be on campus, get around a bunch of alumni and just feel good.
I think the biggest thing with him is, as you mentioned, his size and weight is, specifically that is like He's a 6'4", 260 kid. At that position, and as agile and as versatile as he is, he can play DN or DT. So you know what I mean? Like he can kind of come in and fit either one of those roles depending on where we need him to be. You know, if he wants to play DT, you kind of bulk him up a little bit, not a lot, maybe 10, 15 pounds, make him 6'4", 275. If he wants to play DN, maybe, you know, you trim some of that down a little bit, not a lot either though. You know, you make him 6'4", 245, 250. So like a 10-pound little weight loss there. But I think that versatility he brings, and even as a guy who may be able to play both roles, you know what I mean? You know, he line up at DT / line up at the end, depending on situation. Would be a huge get for Oklahoma. Let's fingers crossed that goes well and it goes how it should go.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the kids that after the barbecue, the week or two after, I would imagine we should be on a lookout for a potential commit. That's, you know, everything I've read, and that's just my gut feeling. But no, really, you know, talking about Speed D, he's got the size, you know, the frame, you know, they can, like you said, Brandon, they can trim him or bulk him up, however way they need him to be, or maybe just some sort of a hybrid.
I believe he's right now a 4-star, right?
Yeah. So
yeah,
that's not too bad.
A good get.
Yeah. So we'll move on to another defensive end. It's Derrick Brown. You guys might have been familiar with him. He's from Texarkana, Texas. He's from Texas High, and he plays defensive end. He was good friends with, or he still is good friends with Clayton Smith. Him and Clayton have talked about being teammates and playing at the next level, which I think, you know, obviously Oklahoma's got the leg up on. He's a 4-star recruit, according to 247, 302 overall recruit, and, you know, the number 15 edge player in the nation. Granted, not quite as high as Derrick Moore, but 6'4", 210, he's got a lot more, you know, he's got the same frame. He just needs probably another couple years to really fill out, you know, get the weight up. And that's probably why his ranking is slightly lower than Derrick Moore's. Obviously, like I said, he's best friends with Clayton Smith. He took his unofficial this past weekend, the 12th of June, and he plans to take his official visit for Nebraska. And he wants to be committed before the football season starts. And he wants to also, before the football season starts, obviously going to come visit Oklahoma. He's then going to want to visit Texas Tech and Baylor before he makes his decision, which I would like to think, you know, he would want to pick Oklahoma. Yeah. And basically he's already visited Texas. It's a Texas OU battle, from what I've read. And something that I'm kind of wondering, and this we might run into, which is a good thing to have, and we haven't had this in a long time, is he might be a guy that might be turned off with all this talent. I mean, we've got all this defensive line talent in the previous class and what's coming up this class and potentially the class after. He might just not see a spot for him. The competition is going to be so fierce at that position of the defensive line, especially if Derrick Moore and a few other guys pull the trigger here pretty quick. He might look elsewhere to Texas, who doesn't, you know, I don't follow it as much. But what do you guys think?
At that 210 number that you talked about, and that 6'4", which is a great height for anybody on the defense, but at 6'4", 210, he's kind of, you know, with Derrick Moore, you talked about how he can play DT, DN, whatever. That's fine. At 6'4", 210, he's looking at DN / maybe linebacker only, which is a good thing and a bad thing, I guess. You know, he's got to look at the roster. Like you said, he's good friends with Clayton Smith. Nick Benito's still there. I don't know how long he's on the roster. I believe he's a senior this year, right?
Yeah, this is the final year.
So Benito should be gone. So why not start opposite your best friend?
Yeah, I mean, that's
at a linebacker spot, because he can't play on the line other than DN / I wonder what his coverage skills look like is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine he's pretty versatile. You know, I just, and like someone that I could see that would be like him that's already on the roster is David Owegbu. I think he could play that role, but I just don't know if he's going to be able to see the field. Granted, just because you're a 4 or 5 star doesn't mean you're going to start over someone who's ranked lower than you. But Jose, do you have anything to add with him?
Yeah, no, I think I was looking at his recruiting profile on 247, and it's kind of like you said, like this is going to be a kid where a spot where he fits is going to might be a big deal for him. And I mean, other than Oklahoma, it looks like he really wants to stay home. He's looking at Texas Tech, Texas, and there was another Texas school in there. Baylor. So, he's clearly wanting to stay. It seems like he wants to stay at home, close to home. So Oklahoma's going to have to sell him hard on being a Sooner, or I think he's probably going to end up at Tech or Baylor. I don't see him going to Texas just because Texas, Sarkisian seems to be doing a good job at attracting these high school kids. They had Arch Manning there over the weekend, and it seems like Arch Manning is really getting sold on being a Longhorn in the future. Hopefully that's not a thing, because obviously that is a guy that not only brings talent to their program, but even more notoriety being a Manning. And being a Manning is going to bring a lot of people with you. So hopefully that doesn't happen, for them. But, if it does, then that means that this kid is going to want to play with Arch Manning and all the talent that he'll bring on. But, I think it's more likely that he'll probably end up playing at Tech or Baylor at the end of the day, just because, he is slightly undersized right now. And if he's a kid that wants to play as soon as possible, he'll have a better chance being a Red Raider or even a Bear.
Yeah, no, I definitely
He's
agree.
undersized on the D line, though. At the end of the day, if you play as linebacker, outside linebacker / occasional pass rusher, he's very well sized.
Yeah. I guess it just depends on how his skills develop, right? Because if he's not good,
I wonder what his coverage skills look like.
Then it's not going to matter. But if he can cover the pass and he's
if he can cover the pass, he's in the perfect spot.
Then he can go anywhere, and then being a Sooner is going to be more beneficial for him, because our linebackers that I can think of off the top of my head, it's not like we have any like big time linebackers that are planned on being Sooners or are Sooners on the roster right now. So he has a lot more opportunity to be a go-to guy here in the next year or two.
Yeah, I will say the big linebacker that we've got is Kobe McKenzie. I know is committed to us, who's one of the top rated linebackers. So, I mean, granted, the way Oklahoma's recruiting on the defensive side and already on the offensive side, there's going to be talent everywhere. If you don't want to compete, this is not a place you want to be. But I think that hybrid, I could see why Grinch likes it. And I see him as an Ewegbu if he does end up choosing the Sooners in the long run. But we'll have to see. So he'll make his decision probably in the next, I don't know, couple months, and we'll know, which will be good for his side and Oklahoma, as far as OU can move on and start focusing their efforts on someone else. The final D lineman, which I think a lot of Sooner fans have known about for a long time and is kind of the crown jewel of this class that OU is targeting, is Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy. He's out of Lakeland, Florida. But unfortunately, his dad is actually taking a job in College Station. So he's relocating to College Station, Texas. Obviously,
he's also an Oklahoma alum, is he not? Or his mom is? Somebody is.
Yeah. His dad, his mom and dad are OU alums and grew up in Oklahoma, but they are moving to College Station because his dad took a new job. He's composite he's a 5-star, number 6 overall recruit, number 2 defensive lineman in the country. I mean, just talented, 6'3", 275 pounds. Basically, someone you could pull off the street and probably start day one, or at least get a rotation going in for him on the OUD line. From what I've seen, he's extreme. His best talent, his best trait is he's extremely fast off the ball. I mean, his first step is ridiculous, and he's so quick that people can't react, and he just blows up every play. Just physically, just dominant, and he relies on that in high school. And granted, he's not probably playing 5 stars on the other side of the ball, but with that much talent in high school, there's no reason why he couldn't. He took his unofficial this past weekend on the 12th of June, 12th, 13th, I think, or one of those days, a couple days in there. Like we talked about earlier, his parents are from Oklahoma, went to Oklahoma, met at OU, and Gabriel grew up an OU fan, dreamt of playing for OU, even whenever he was down in Florida for a long time. He, being an SEC country, he loves the Sooners. And I know he said that he's loved seeing OU improve on the defensive side of the ball over the last few years, and that's probably given him some confidence. What's coming up this weekend for him, he is going to take an official to Texas A&M this weekend instead of the ChampU barbecue. This thing's been scheduled for a while. I'm not sure. Maybe he wanted a little more personalized and a little more one-on-one time rather than a crowd of people. That might be. It looks like for the rest of the summer, he's going to end up at Ohio State and Clemson on either an official, unofficial, I don't know which way. And then his last two official visits are for Alabama and are for Oklahoma. The Alabama one isn't scheduled. He was originally going to come to the Nebraska game, but he has since switched that to Western Carolina, only because Nebraska, as we know, is at 11 a.m. And if he's playing on a Friday night, in College Station, that's a tough drive to make for an 11 a.m. game. So he has switched it, which is very unfortunate, and why we need more night games. Granted, I know Oklahoma can't control that, which, the whole Fox deal, that's a whole different other topic to talk about. But really, it seems like the biggest competition is going to be A&M. I mean, his family now lives there. He's close with his family. But everything that he said after his visit was his parents were reminiscing on meeting each other, loved the campus, decked out in OU gear all weekend. He loved it. It was a total home run for the Sooners this weekend. So I still like to think the Sooners are in a great spot. I think A&M will put a good, some good competition against them. But I would think deep down, you grew up an OU fan, you've got a great team going, everything's going for them. Why wouldn't you want to be a Sooner? What do you guys think?
Plus, if you want to play at the next level, which I'm sure, with someone like as talented as he is, probably does, at the end of the day, Oklahoma is a better place to go than A&M. Forget about where your dad's coaching now. That's a fact. Like, Oklahoma is a better talent as far as producing next NFL guys. So I think that favors us. And I think, like you said, growing up an OU fan also helps. In my opinion, he's the second most important recruit of the 2022 class that I would like to see landed behind the guy we're going to talk about next. But what do you have?
I mean, to be honest, I've always seen this kid as it's just a matter of making sure that he stays committed to being a Sooner. At this point, genuinely, I think that college, even though his dad is now A&M, I don't think that they have that much of a shot unless this guy is very much a family person where he wants to stay close to mom and dad. But I think his parents obviously don't want to force that on him, especially since they're Oklahoma alum. They're probably going to want to make sure that maybe they're people that want to keep that Sooner blood in the family, so they'll maybe push him a little bit that way. So he's just a guy that we don't want to lose, rather than a guy that we have to try to sell him on. He's already been sold on being a Sooner. He's, like you said, a Sooner fan his entire life. So making sure that we make him feel at home is going to be a big thing for him. Overall, we want to make sure that he feels at home in Norman, feels at home with the football team, gets to know the guys that he's going to be around in the locker room. Because at the end of the day, like these are 18-year-old kids, and if they don't feel comfortable with the kids that they're hanging out with in the locker room and the people that they're going to be rooming with in the dorms, then they're probably not going to pick that area, that school. And then like Clemson and Ohio State, I think are probably going to be our biggest competition in making sure this kid stays a Sooner for his college career, just because they're obviously big schools where he can get a lot of spotlight if his goal is ultimately to be in the NFL. And those two schools, especially Ohio State, has produced elite defensive line talent over the last 5 years. So, Ohio State's going to be probably the biggest competitor His dad just took a job. I don't think that it's going to make that big of an influence on where he's going to be. Again, unless he's a guy that just really wants to be next to mom and dad, which I think for the most part, most players want to just kind of, and most kids that go to school want to kind of get away from mom and dad. You've lived with them for 18 years. Why do you need to be right next to them for another 4 before you, hopefully for him, make your dream come true and be an NFL talent?
Yeah, and just one more thing, his family moving from Lakeland, Florida to College Station. They are closer to Norman now, so that's a little bit of a positive. And finally, the like Brandon said,
the
probably
most important recruit,
the most important
class
recruit, in Oklahoma's backyard, Tulsa, Oklahoma's Gentry Williams. He's a 6 foot, 170-pound just athlete. That's what he's being recruited as. He plays at Booker T. Washington. He plays quarterback and defensive back for him. He's extremely fast, very talented ball skills as far as covering. He's the number 36 overall recruit, obviously a 5-star, and the number 5 overall athlete in the class. He also visited on the 12th that weekend for a couple days. He watched 7-on-7 drills, and while he was on his visit, came away extremely impressed and just almost kind of got starstruck with the whole idea of, this is his home team. His parents went to Oklahoma. He grew up a Sooner fan. And now how well OU is playing on the defensive side of the ball and how big the guys are and everything that's coming together. He's like, wow, I'm being recruited by Oklahoma and this is my dream school. And I think he had that realization this past weekend. And I would have to think that would win out in the end. OU's going to get a couple chances. He's planning to come down at the end of July, and then he's going to take his official for the Nebraska game, which, him playing on a Friday night and driving down on a Saturday morning from Tulsa is nothing for him to come down. So OU's going to get a couple more cracks at him. He has visited Florida, which was, I believe, the first weekend of June with one of his good friends, McClellan.
He went impressed there too.
Yeah, and he came away impressed with the Gators. And I think McClellan was more of a Gators guy, and why they took it together. And he came away impressed. Now he went to Oklahoma. And this upcoming weekend, the weekend of the 18th, he's going to USC with Chris McClellan, from my understanding. And so they're going to go out there together. And kind of right now, it seems like USC and OU are kind of neck and neck to land him. But, that's just right now. I think a couple more visits. OU shows out really well this year, get some good recruits in this 2022 class. And I think overall, he's just it's his home team, his family's team, and the amount of talent and the potential here for, offense and defense, I think overall will end up winning out in the long run for him. What do you guys think?
Definitely. Well, we do have a source that says he was leaning towards Oklahoma about a month ago. Now that was before his Florida visit, like we just mentioned,
to Florida.
So we're not 100% sure, but before his Florida visit, he was heavily leaning towards Oklahoma. I think that's definitely what we could expect. Again, this is a guy like Dindy, where this is just a guy we have to make sure we don't lose, rather than sell him on being a Sooner. These are guys that have been Sooner fans their entire lives. We want to make sure that they feel at home. We want to make sure, again, like with recruiting, and I think something that a lot of us fans kind of don't forget whenever we talk about, we want to make sure we get the best talent on campus. Is like, these are 18-year-old, 17-year-old kids. Like, they're going to be sold on a lot of different things. Some kids just want to value like how close they are to home. Some kids want, the spotlight. It depends. But I think if you have guys that are fans of your team, they were lifelong fans, just like, Gentry and Dindy, they were lifelong Sooner fans. We have to make sure that they feel like they can come into Oklahoma, be impactful as a player, but also feel at home with the teammates that they have, because this is not only for athletes, but for any college student. These are big years for them where they, kind of grow up a lot. So if they feel like they can do that in Norman, Oklahoma, then that's where they're going to pick. And I think that's why we don't see kids, kind of coming off topic here. That's why we don't see all the top 5 recruits go to Alabama. Not everyone feels comfortable in Tuscaloosa or being part of the time. So we want to make sure that we are able to make sure that they feel comfortable as Sooners, lifelong Sooners, and hopefully, with Gentry, it's going to be making sure that we also show them that we have a spot for them, because our DB room is starting to fill up. We talked about him a lot. We talked about Billy Bowman last week, and how hard it can be for him to potentially find a spot on the defensive side of the ball. So Gentry being an athlete, you said, he plays DB. I think he'll ultimately play DB for Oklahoma if he comes to us. He'll have competition as freshman year, but I think pairing him with Billy Bowman is going to be a formative DB duo there for the future.
Yeah. Brandon, do you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with a lot of things that was said about making, the fit feel right, and, making sure he feels like Oklahoma's the place to be. But like, as I said before, I think he's the one kid that I think Oklahoma should like just fucking lock in, be like, don't let him leave no matter what. He's a kid, I think he can play. Obviously, we think he'll play DB, but he can also play receiver at a very high level. He's just a freak athlete. He's a kid, I think he runs a high 4.2, low 4.3. I mean, just a freak athlete. Can do pretty much everything. He set his final 6 about 2 or 3 months ago, and it was obviously Oklahoma, USC, Florida, Missouri. I forget the other 2. Georgia, I don't know, but anyway, but like he's a kid that we need to be fucking rolling out the Brinks truck for, essentially. You know what I mean? And, obviously not paying him, but like, I just mean roll the red carpet out. He's a kid we cannot lose him.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think he's that good, that special, because, like, I mean, yeah, you talked about playing DB and he might have a little bit of competition, but even if that doesn't work out, he's a kid who can run a 4.2, 4.3 40 and play in the slot and be a freak on offense. He's a kid you can't lose if you're Oklahoma.
Yeah,
especially
no, I
being
agree.
a homegrown talent.
You don't want another Josh Proctor that goes to Ohio State who went to Owasso High School.
Josh Jacobs, or not? Yeah. No, yeah, the kid who's the kid who went to Alabama.
Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you just can't have that happen to you, but I'd like to think so. And speaking of wide receiver, I know Florida is recruiting him as a wide receiver. So, but I don't know if he really wants to play as a wide receiver. I think he prefers DB. But that's all I've got as far as recent visits. And now looking forward, just a quick preview. There's a lot to uncut, a lot to unpack, a lot to talk about what's coming up this weekend, the 18th, the ChampU barbecue. And, we'll have a lot more information after this barbecue, but we're going to talk about some previewing, what we think could happen, or what you could expect shortly after, and who, some of the big people that are going to be there. I know off the top of my head, Malachi Nelson, Makai Lemon, Brandon Ennis, just big offensive talent, and like Brandon said, he was talking about, off the stream or off the podcast, he was talking about the number 1 overall recruit in the 2023 class. Labarius Overton's going to be there. What else? What are you guys thinking? I mean, what are we looking at this weekend?
ChampU barbecue is going to be a time where we are going to sell hard for the 2023 class. Like, looking at the alumni that are going to show up, I think Baker was obviously the highlight of the team of the guys coming in that are alumni. Gerald McCoy is coming in, so that's going to be someone that Overton's probably going to want to talk to a lot, because
Tommy Harris is also D tackle.
Tommy Harris. Let me look up the others that were coming in. I can't recall them off the top of my head, but let's see.
Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts,
AP, Joe,
CD, Hollywood.
Like,
it's a ridiculous.
We've got guys that are in the league now and that are making a name for themselves. So, like, these 2023 kids, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 out of the top 25 coming to visit this weekend. So, like, this is the time where we got to sell out hard. They're all unofficial visits, so obviously it might be a little bit of
some are official.
No, they're all for 2023 are unofficial right now.
For 2023,
just because they only have 5, like Brumbaugh pointed out earlier. think it was off the stream. If for those that don't know, every recruit only has 5 official visits that they can take. So that's why not every visit is official. But for 2023, all these kids are coming unofficially. So we've got to make sure that they feel at home. Like I've been repeating, this is going to be a time where we can make sure that they feel comfortable with the coaches, comfortable with what they can be potentially in the future. And that's why we bring in alumni like Baker and K9, Kyler and Jalen. At the end of the day, these 17, 18-year-olds, their goal is to be in the NFL. And if we can show them that we're producing talent that is in the NFL now, and especially if you're a quarterback for Micah, we just put up 2 number 1 picks and a guy that once when he was in Alabama, if he was lucky, was going to be a 3rd or 4th round pick, and he ended up being a 2nd round pick after coming to Oklahoma. So Micah, having those 3 guys is really going to help get Micah to commit officially to OU. And I think he has said that the day he was going to announce his commitment is sometime in July.
Yeah, I think it's July 18th. We're like a month out. I think it's his parents.
It's coming quickly to the day that he's going to announce his official commitment. So this ChampU barbecue is going to be a big time where we can solidify. He's crystal ball to us the top 4 recruits from 2023 that are coming to the ChampU barbecue are already crystal ball to us. So we've got to make sure that we do what we've been doing, obviously, and make sure that they're sold on being Sooners and comfortable with being in Norman.
Yeah,
I think you pointed out, Brum, at the top of the show about how this might be like the most talented ChampU barbecue we've had. It's at least in a long time. And then, like Ho said, we're kind of pulling all the stops, bringing all these famous these huge alumni players back, for this event. And not only that, I look at guys like Malachi Nelson, who, in my opinion, is borderline a lock. And then you got Derrick Brown, he's committed to us. He's going to be there. You've got Brandon Ennis, who I'm pretty sure is almost also a lock as well, and Lavarius Overton, who's number 1 recruit in the class, who I think I'd be shocked if he didn't come to us too. So there's those 4 kids alone. It's almost like it's a chance for those kids to recruit within an event, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? And not only do you have these famous alum coming in this great event and just just all around, just a really fun time. But then you've got Baker talking, K1 talking, K9, all of them talking. And then you got Malachi Nelson, who's pretty much talking to the guys like, hey, this is pretty much, this is where I'm going to come. I'm the best quarterback in the class. Like as Caleb Williams has done, as Spencer Rattler did before him. It's like a recruiting event within itself with some of these kids who I think we all feel pretty confident are going to be Sooners.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think, obviously I'm excited for the offensive side, and there's a lot of defensive line talent too that's going to be there. But I think the guy I'm really excited for outside of those is a guy named Omari Abor. I think I'm saying that right. He's a 6'4", 240-pound defensive lineman out of Duncanville, Texas, who was a teammate of Savion Byrd, the offensive lineman that was signed in the 2021 class. He's the number 23 overall recruit, number 5 defensive lineman in the country. He is coming off a visit from LSU, and I think it went pretty well. He liked it, but has been in constant communication with Oklahoma. He grew up a diehard Sooners fan as well. So there's a lot of, kids that are Sooners fans. And I think he's a kid to watch. If this goes really well, I'm not saying he's going to commit right away, but I think this is a step for Oklahoma just to pull away with this. And so if you got Dindy, Abor, and Derrick Moore all to commit over the next few months, that's three guys in the top 75 recruits in the country. I mean, that is almost unheard of how much talent. And a lot of Oklahoma ties, family, it's working out for OU in this case. But yeah, there's just so much to unpack here, and we don't have enough time to go over everything. But I think what we're going to do is after this barbecue, we might roll out a few episodes covering chunks of players and what they thought, what they're thinking. We're going to dig up a bunch of research, bring it all to you guys. But that's all I've got right now.
As
what
you
do
mentioned,
guys have?
biggest ChampU barbecue in the history of elite football, and I know it's only been a 4 or 5 year thing, 6 year thing, but on an unrelated note, other than football, ex-Sooner Trey Young is locked in a very close, very important game 5. I think as of a couple minutes ago, I just got an update. It was Hawks down 2 with 2 minutes to go.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So, no, that's pretty good. I'm actually looking at it. Hawks are down 2 with a minute 26. Yeah, you're right. So, anyway, I mean, that's all I've got. Jose, I mean, do you have anything else, or we're good to wrap it up?
This is all just going to be making the kids comfortable. It's been my theme throughout the podcast. Let's make sure that these kids,
I'll rock with it.
These kids feel comfortable being Sooners.
Especially like you said a million times, especially at this ChampU. And not only that, but just this is the time. It's time for football to capitalize.
Especially once we win the national championship next year. There's no reason why they don't want to continue that tradition and just continue grabbing those rings.
No, I agree. So definitely keep up with us on our Twitter, Two Plane Sports. We're going to be retweeting, quote tweeting, keeping up with what's going on this weekend to keep you guys in the loop. Obviously, we're going to do multiple emergency podcasts coming up in the next week or so after the ChampU barbecue weekend to keep you guys in the loop. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We love the comments as far as, interacting with us, on Twitter, YouTube, whatever it is. We'll be sure to reach out to you. And we will discuss whatever you guys would like if you have anything pressing. So,
go Hawks.
So one last thing
for
those that have made it this far into the podcast, send us a DM on Twitter and I will make sure to get you some Two Plane Sports merchandise. We've got some little stuff coming in. So I will mail that to you.
I'll buy you an OU softball national championship t-shirt.
All right. Just DM us on Twitter. Make sure you're following us. And we will make sure to get a hold of you and get something to you soon enough.
Definitely. So anyway, that's all we got today. Keep up with us. We'll keep you guys in the loop and appreciate it. And we'll catch you next week for maybe multiple podcasts next week. See you guys.
Go Hawks.